Love Quinn is the ultimate I think I could fix her. I don't know, I think if I paid for therapy and didn't have a mistress, who knows, we could be happy. But my own hear me out aside, Love is a lot of things in the show. A baker, a widower, a murderer, and the relationship that I would argue had the biggest impact on Joe. But what if I gave you an alternate reality where Love is not the Love you know, but actually an actress with a spray tan and a few weird quirks? The book presents the story in a very different light, and I want to explore it because I could not believe how different she is in the book. So join me in exploring the story of Love Quinn and her relationship with Joe in the books. Now, Love comes into the story much later in the book than in the show, but I think it is important to cover what happened to each character before they met each other, as their state of mind significantly defined their relationship. So we pick up with Joe a few weeks after the event of the first book. Now, I made a video about book 1, so if you're curious about that, then watch it and come back. But for those who don't want to do that, for the most part it follows the events of season 1, with the exception that Joe is now dating a girl named Amy. Not to be confused with Candace's fake name, Amy, but it's a pretty obvious Easter egg to the book. The important thing to know about Amy is her and Joe are dating, and he is blind, deaf and dumb to every red flag she is showing. Man is weaving through the warning signs like the Matrix. She is a liar who's making him buy expensive books and pressuring him for the key to the store. I mean, I could not tell you how shocked I was when she robbed the store and decided to flee to LA to become an actress. Joe really is just a desperate man. She sucks his dick and he does whatever she says. An hour later, I was the owner of an overpriced Easter parade, and Amy was sucking my dick in a Starbucks bathroom. This means that unlike in the show where Joe is trying to outrun his past, in the book he is the hunter. He moves to LA in order to track and murder the woman who he thinks ruined his life. After a few weeks of LA life, he goes to a casting call and bumps into the producer who will become his next great soulmate, Love Quinn. So a few really important factors to consider that are different when it comes to Love. Firstly, Love does not work at the store, though her parents still own it. She knows his name is Joe, unlike in the show where he's under a false identity Will. So that whole drama, cut it. And most importantly, when starting their relationship, Joe is not scared of hurting her, which is a defining theme of a lot of their relationship early season 2. He is still cold as fuck about the killings, believing it is their fault, and that he's actually doing them and society a favour by killing them. When he kills Delilah, he literally says, "I am also going to kill her because there is no happy ending for a star-fucking girl like Delilah, a girl who actively refuses to embrace her talents." He is a philanthropist. He is a good guy helping make the world a better place one murder at a time. But either way, without the barrier to their relationship, it progresses significantly faster than in the show. So after meeting, they kiss within 30 minutes, then he goes to meet her parents and finishes the date with sex on the first night. So not quite the slow play like in the show. Let's break down Love's character and explore the differences in this alternate reality. Firstly, in the show, Love is very clearly meant to represent a certain archetype. Sort of the idea of the perfect woman. By this, I mean if there is a checklist in the minds what most people consider the typical men's wish list, she would embody those attributes. She cooks, has family values, is a sex freak, and seems to mostly have her life in order. Again, ignore the murder, we don't know about that part yet. In the book, though, she is kind of a mess. She's 35, has been married twice, she dropped out of law school because of 9/11, and is described by 40 as kind of a love addict. He explains that Love is a relationship girl and is incapable of being single. Her parents are super in love, despite her dad cheating weekly, which is crazy. Imagine being like, let me check my calendar. Monday's tennis, Tuesday I have a board meeting, Wednesday I'm being sucked off by my masseuse, and Thursday is salsa. But the thing is, their relationship sort of had the opposite effects on their children. 40 has decided he'll never live up to their relationship and has sworn off them entirely, while Love is on this endless pursuit of replicating that relationship as quickly as humanly possible. Her first marriage, which isn't included in the show, was a cocaine-fueled binge that only lasted a month. The second was obviously her cancer husband, but in this version it's implied that he, how do I put this in a nice way? Decided not to stay and do the treatment. He went surfing and never came back ashore, if you get what I mean. But this personality trait means that Love is moving rocket fast once she meets Joe. As I said, she is on a world record speed run of relationship milestones, which normally most people would find off-putting. I mean, imagine you went on a first date and her parents were there. But is perfect for an obsessive narcissistic stalker like Joe. Honestly, it means that Joe doesn't really have to do that much stalking in this book, because he doesn't really have the chance to. He's basically either with Love, 40, or he's murdering someone. Unfortunately, I also felt it made their relationship a bit more boring than the first one with Beck, which is an insane thing to say as I think Love is my favourite character in the show, but she's just less impactful to the book. Next is her wealth. Love is Scrooge McDuck rich in both the book and the show, but uses it very differently. In the show, she sort of uses that wealth only to maintain her dream of a middle-class suburban life. Yes, her parents give her a store to run and bought them a house, but otherwise her life is pretty down to earth. She does grocery shopping, she dresses fairly modestly, and doesn't seem to spend excessively. The only sort of rich person trait I'd say she seems to have is the fact that she hires private eyes whenever she doubts someone. But now let me introduce you to Moneyball's Love. She is so much more Los Angeles, even down to her physical appearance. She is described by Joe as, she is an easy, breezy, beautiful cover girl, and also compared in vibe to the Kardashians. Yes, she runs a charity, so she isn't a complete trust fund baby, but she is a person who appreciates her wealth. I mean, she pretends not to flaunt it, but she does some rich people bullshit. When she first has sex with Joe in a hotel room, she fills a bathtub with $25,000 worth of champagne, which Joe hates, by the way, as he has a very bitter relationship with wealth and took it as a personal reminder of what he can't provide. I don't want to get in a tub of champagne. She also throws out underwear daily and is like, ooh, what a quirky trait. Like that isn't a waste of time and money. Plus, boat trips, private jets to weekend trips, and plays tennis in Malibu. So yeah, she enjoys money. While show love can be thought of as a trad wife style archetype, book love is much more of a Miami girl type. This all results in her becoming an actress and taking Joe with her to a shoot in Mexico, which honestly took up quite a few chapters in the book and I didn't like it. It felt weirdly out of place, and though it did explore Joe's jealousy over Milo, it was a rare case of Joe's feelings being kind of justified. I mean, she has history with Milo. She had an on and off thing with him for 2 decades. He took her virginity and also had sex with her the morning she met Joe. She also describes him as someone who is closer than family. I am closer with him than I am with 40. I don't know, I'm not an actor, but watching your girl kiss her ex every day in front of you must be weird as shit, especially since he outright said he wants to steal her back. Milo is trying to get her back and she's been uncomfortable, but she isn't mad at him. I think that behavior would trigger a lot of people, and honestly, it's a fucking miracle Milo made it out of the story alive. This is where we get to the element that both loves do share. They both freaky as fuck. Show love seems to enjoy risky sex, with her having sex with her twin in the room, which, weird. I mean, I don't have a sibling, but that felt very Lannister. But also you can see that with her excitement at the idea that someone could potentially catch her and her ex-husband as the door lock was broken. Anyone could walk in. And in the book, it's made clear several times that love is just always horny. And that's all it takes with love. One joke, one smack, and she's slipping out of her little skirt. The big difference in it, though, seems to be dominance, which honestly I think has more to do with Joe's character. In the show, love is often shown to be dominant in the bedroom, taking lead in both initiating and positions. Even in Joe's fantasies of love, she does the same, which means it's something that he likes. In the book, Joe is obsessed with the feeling of dominating the women he's with, a factor that is explored in both books. It was a big reason why he hated the bathtub idea. He wants to feel in control. This is my room now and I am in charge. This is where we encounter a problem in their relationship at the beginning, which is love does not suck dick. Now this is weirdly a big theme of Joe's character in this book. He uses head as a sign of affection and submission, like, does this girl love me enough to lick it like a lollipop? Not kidding, he thinks about it all the time, so you have to imagine he was not thrilled by love's denial. She eventually changes her mind because of Milo. He writes a scene where she's meant to give him a blowy, but then decides it's not appropriate for her to do it to Milo, but it is appropriate for her to do to her boyfriend Joe. She isn't doing a porno, by the way, it's like an indie rom-com. It is hilarious that what spared Milo's life is a bit ahead, as love giving it to him quenched his jealousy, but have no doubt he already had a murder plan for Milo. So fun fact, blowjob saves lives.
I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message.
Now, if that change feels sudden and not well explained, that's not on me. It's on the book, because I have no idea why after so many failed relationships and marriages, she decides to bend to Joe after it being a significant character point that she doesn't do it. It's because of her mum's moral code. Her mum's like, don't do it. I mean, people are allowed to change their mind, of course, but honestly, I thought it was a dream sequence at first, because I was like, okay, it's not something she would do. You decided to dedicate several chapters to convincing me of this and being like, psych, JK. Whatever, let's move on to Joe. I made a whole video about how much I despise his character in the first book, and I stand by it. In the first book, aside from the killing, he was creepy, entitled, and a man baby. He was just so fucking cringe. Every line in the book made me hate him a bit more. I will be honest though, after the second book, I'm a little bit more confused about my feelings on his character, and I don't mean that in a good way. So let me explain. This is how I understood his character. He was the living embodiment of delusions of grandeur. He hated rich and successful people as he felt smarter and more deserving than them, despite not really taking any active steps to achieve his goals. He wanted acknowledgement without the work and thought he was the shit without having any reason to think so. He felt underappreciated without realizing he isn't really all that. He very often killed people because he felt disrespected by them. They weren't giving him the respect he felt like he deserved. But here's where the problems start. I don't know if the writer started believing her own hype or what, but she actually made other characters acknowledge his delusion. He actually is underappreciated. After 40 stole his script, he gets signed for a TV show and was nominated for an award. Joe actually is good looking and charming, as numerous characters call him charming and funny. I mean, he literally breaks into a strange girl's house, just like in the show, looking for Amy.
The door was open.
Is an open door the same as an invitation to enter?
And then leaves with her trying to get his phone number. Like, what in the 50 Shades of fuck? I don't agree we should exchange numbers. She looks crestfallen. Forgive me if I'm wrong, ladies, but short of being Henry Cavill, this does not feel like an achievable goal. Even Amy, who scammed him and used him, says he is the best sex she ever had, and says, "You're funny, you still got it, Goldberg." And this is after he finds her again and strangles her. Actually, the best sex part came from Henderson, who she spoke to about Joe, which just makes the point worse because you can't even say she was lying to save her life. She thought she'd never see Joe again, and she still gave him compliments. But then she also insults him, saying, "You're so obviously desperate for someone to come and change your life." I don't know, I feel like it just ruins his character for me. What makes Joe interesting is he's an unreliable narrator. I'm trying to weave the truth between the lies created by his own personal bias. But it turns out it wasn't all in his head. I hated it. I felt like the writer got caught in her own ideas, trying to turn it from sad and pathetic to dark and mysterious. I mean, not completely, it still sucks ass. But I didn't like the confirmation that he was actually sort of right. He is talented, charming, attractive, and deserves more in life. Once he had a chance, he was succeeding. Now this is the point where you're like, are you going to tell us if love is a killer or not? Like, for fuck's sakes, this is why I clicked on this video. I think it should be obvious, since she didn't kill Delilah, as I mentioned earlier, Joe did, that love actually isn't a crazy killer in this version of the story. Joe kills several people, including Henderson, Delilah, and a police officer. He tries to kill 40 but fails, and tried to kill Amy before changing his mind. Love kills no one, nada, not even their old babysitter. But that doesn't make her an innocent Virgin Mary, pure enough to wear white on her wedding day. And I don't mean she isn't a virgin. What I mean is, after finding out that Joe lied to her about his location, she tracks him down to a hotel near Peach's house. He's trying to figure out a way to get his old jar of piss back because he left it there after killing Peach, same as in the show. He's basically trying to destroy evidence, but she thinks he's cheating on her. This is where Joe decides to throw a crazy Hail Mary and tell her everything like she's a priest on Sunday. Candace, Beck, Peach, his asshole ex in the cage, everything. With the exception that he killed 40. Well, he thinks he killed 40 at this point. She then goes, you know what? Maybe you aren't to blame. Maybe it actually was their fault. Do you see what I mean by other characters validating Joe? But she's basically like, I decided to love you together, so we are ride and die. And steals the jar for him, officially making her an accomplice to his crimes. The reason given for his surprisingly understanding nature is that she thinks 40 could also kill someone if pushed to it, as she saw him hang their pet dog as a kid. So she thinks if she can forgive 40 and keep an eye on him, she can do the same for Joe. All I know is how to love, so I can deal with you. So yeah, she's still crazy enough to be a Batman villain, just not one of the murderous ones. This is also where she reveals that Joe is going to be a papa. Joe is then arrested on suspicion of being Beck's killer and is sentenced to jail as he awaits his trial. Now you might be wondering why the video only has a few minutes left and I've barely touched on season 3 and book 3. I mean, Love is pregnant, so this is the moment where they run away to the place that no millennial can afford to go, the suburbs. And where we find out that a couple that kills together does not stay together. That is because that does not happen in the book. Book 3 begins with the reveal that Joe spent 9 months in prison before he's exonerated. Once released, he's taken by the Quinn lawyers and given $4 million to basically fuck off. Which, to be fair on him, he only accepts because the alternative was a bullet to the head. Pulling out a gun and $4 million is the ultimate carrot and stick situation. And if I'm being honest, what else was he supposed to do? Either way, Joe has been cut off from his family and moves to the suburbs solo to start again. To be clear, he is not happy about abandoning his son, but his thought process is, if he stays alive, there's at least a chance he will be reunited with his child. But I couldn't die. I'm a father. And more importantly, he already knows that the Quinns can get away with murder, as they literally just helped him get away with murder. This means that Joe and Love having a family, killing and kidnapping the neighbors, entering a cat and mouse game as they both cheat on each other while trying to raise Henry, and finally Joe killing Love and burning down the house is a complete unique story. It does not happen in the books. Actually, the whole show kind of goes off in its own direction from now on. I mean, it already has, especially with Love going to Hollywood, but now especially. But I'm planning doing a video called The Complete Story of Joe Goldberg in the Books at some point, where I'll just discuss all the books in one go. That will be my magnus opus, so subscribe now if it sounds like your jam and keep an eye out. Before I do my conclusion, I do want to discuss one more character. I don't think you can discuss Love without discussing her brother 40. Now, I went on a whole rant in my previous video about how much of a bitch Beck was in the first book. But being a bitch isn't gendered, so now it's 40's turn. I fucking hate this bitch in this book. He is the only person that Joe tried to kill that I was like,
I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you.
40 in the show has many flaws. More flaws than personality traits, really. He is douchey, chaotic, immature, and just plainly annoying. He is the guy that if I saw at a house party, I would go to the kitchen to avoid him. That being said, he did have some redeemable traits. Firstly, he was actually loyal to Joe once his sister loved him. Possessive, sure, but I truly believe he had his sister's best interest at heart. 40 in the book is a fucking snake. He keeps trying to tempt Joe to cheat on Love with prostitutes. He is jealous of Love, and this results in him consciously making a decision to make her worry about him so he feels like he's worth something, ignoring her texts and disappearing for days on end because he's like, oh, it's her turn to worry. And also, he's just so entitled. Entitled people are my least favorite kind. If you want me to hate a person, fictional or real, just show them mistreating a service worker. Do you know who I am? Motherfucker, I own this city. This is where we get to why Joe wanted to kill 40. In the show, 40 had a successful movie and then was caught in a whirlwind of drugs until he burned every bridge he had.
Your brother is a sycophantic, fame-grubbing Hollywood has-been.
But there is an implication he has talent, he just doesn't have any work ethic or focus.
Why don't you just do the work?
In the book, he has never had any level of success. He is living on a pipe dream and his parents' money, which results in a partnership with Joe. Joe agrees that with his writing talents, which he apparently has, and 40's connections, they can actually be successful together. And it works. 40 gets Joe's script signed, and like I said, even nominated for an award. There's even discussions of an Oscar. It's at this point that he completely cuts Joe out and begins to gaslight him, claiming it was all him, and Joe just helped a little bit. He paints a picture wherein I am the shady one. Now, normally I would say that maybe Joe is exaggerating his involvement, but no, I can't. Because Joe describes the desert scene that he wrote, and in the article discussing the nomination, it is clearly stated that that desert scene is what won them over. Joe then fails to kill 40 because he miscalculates the drugs he gives him. With 40 being such a cokehead, he has such a high tolerance that he just sort of bounces back.
How high is his tolerance? How is he alive?
But then something weird happens. 40 covers for Joe. He's telling everyone he has no idea what happened, and Joe is confused. It's at that point that 40 reveals that he is now Joe's master and he will work Joe to the bone for more scripts. You are gonna write what I tell you to write when I tell you to write it. If Joe ever refuses or tells anyone the truth, he will reveal what Joe did, that he tried to kill him. Now, crazy, yes, but what makes this truly horrific is that he lets Joe keep dating his sister. Joe tried to kill him, and he doesn't give a flying fuck that he's living with his twin. He could literally ask Joe for anything. He has him in the palm of his hands, and everything he wanted was self-serving. He had no thought about protecting his sister. Say what you want about 40 in the show, he was prepared to share credit with Joe. And more importantly, he was ready to dish out Wild West judgment to protect his sister once he found out the truth. He wasn't negotiating for more freelance work. Also, you know, the animal abuse is fucked as well. I literally could not stand his character, and every scene he was in made me despise him more. Honestly, if he was in the third book, I would run him over with my car too. Not sure how I'd do that to a fictional character. Maybe run over the actor. Doesn't feel fair, but so is life. But yeah, that is what happens. Joe gets lucky and 40 gets run over by a car. Do you realize how bad you have to be for me to root for Joe, a literal serial killer that I hate? Fuck 40, he is the living embodiment of a sociopath with a trust fund. So that brings us to the end of the video, and the end of the reflection of who Love Quinn is. I don't think I was exaggerating when I said she is a whole different character in the book. Aside from sharing a high libido and a romantic core, they could not be more different. I actually think that show Love would have hated her alter ego. And I'm not gonna lie, Love is more interesting in the show than in the book. The book is very much written as Joe trying to work around Love as he commits his crimes. But for the most part, she's so chill that he finds it pretty easy. Honestly, most of their arguments is just the fact that he's bitter about her success and sometimes gets jealous. She doesn't really care if he disappears sometimes because she's used to it when it comes to 40. The book was good. Not great, but worth a read if you liked the first one. To be honest, the show was a better written story in a whole, in my opinion. They really fleshed out the characters to give them more depth. Love Quinn in the show is one of the most interesting love interests I can think of, and the perfect reflection to Joe's journey. She's the mirror held up to his hypocrisy. He finally gets what he always wanted, but realizes it's not what he needs. What he needs is a padded cell with no door. But what do you think? Do you like the changes the show made, or would you have preferred they kept it more similar to the source material? Also, this is very, very important, so listen up. Please give me external validation for my points about Joe and his delusion, non-delusion thing. I mean, I think I'm right, no? It is much more interesting when he has delusions of grandeur that results in murder when the world doesn't reflect his own view, rather than him just being a cool guy who happens to murder. I don't know, comment your thoughts below, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Plus, while you're here, you might as well check out my other videos. What's stopping you? Nothing. I have a whole You series. Many great videos. So watch it. But otherwise, have a great day and see you in the next video.